Hello to everybody, and you're all very, very welcome here on this call this afternoon. My name is Therese Walsh. I am the country lead for the Change Management Institute, the Ireland Chapter, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you all to this June virtual event that we are partnering and collaborating with our great friends on the Project Management Institute, who are here on the call with us as well. So we really hope that the next hour brings for all of you some learnings around the topic today, which is the power of the project and change management manager partnership and how they both are harnessing technology to achieve success. So that's what we're going to talk about. We have got a packed agenda. We'll start, as always, with introducing the Change Management Institute. I promise I've only got a couple of slides on that. And then I'll hand over to, I think it's Daniel, who will talk from the Project Management Institute, who will talk a little bit about the Project Management Institute. And then the main part of the day is really introducing the panel and having that panel discussion. We've got some tough questions for our panel today, and hopefully they're all set to go. And then we'll hopefully have time for some questions from people on the line. Maybe they can put them in the chat or whatever, and then we close out. So that's it, guys. And unless there's any questions, I will kick off. So, Change Management Institute, I don't know who of you, of all of you have heard. I know we've got a lot of non-change management members on the call. So let me take a little bit of time to tell you about the Change Management Institute. It actually was established in 2005 by a group of ladies down under, as they say, in Australia, who I guess were all starting on their change management journey and were feeling a little bit isolated. So they started this group of 3 or 4 people with a vision to build capability, credibility, and connection in the pursuit of professional excellence. And actually today, it has grown arms, legs, feet, etc., and that is still the same vision. Today, we are in over 49 countries. We get about 10,400 event registrations per year. There's about 45,000 people following us, and we run about 135 events per year. So I guess we've come a long way from where we started in 2005. And maybe a little bit about the Ireland chapter. We're relatively small and we're maybe a little bit less mature, but we're getting there. And we like to run between 10 and 12 events per year. There'll be a mix of face-to-face and online. We ran our first event in Cork in May. It was a great success, wasn't it, Louise? And Louise got to go back to Cork and run an event there, which was fantastic. We also like to build. Oh, sorry, Louise, you're going to say something?
No, I just said it was a great success, and I won't say anything about Cork being the real capital. Noelle will back me there, but no, we had a great evening, and thanks to Therese came down, so it was very successful.
I was the blow-in. At that session. Yeah, absolutely. And look, we have a community of people with all different levels of change management knowledge and experience, and we really try and build and leverage that. We also have a resource centre that has lots of recordings of events, podcasts, models, research and white papers. And we've a change management book of knowledge. And there's also an opportunity to be recognised as an accredited change professional with the ACP. And you get to do lots of things like sponsor events, speak at events and all that sort of good stuff. So that's it from me. Unless anybody's got any questions, put them in the chat. I'll try and answer them later. But I'm going to hand you over now to Daniel.
Thanks, Therese. I am Daniel Eagling. I am the Vice President of the Ireland Chapter of the PMI here in Ireland. We've got a diverse team of directors, and just a quick overview. We've got about 1,800, just over 1,800 members across Ireland at the moment, working in every sector pretty much that you can imagine, from public to private sectors. I guess quickly, the Ireland chapter is there as a go-to tool for all the project management professionals to find the latest trends, techniques, and tools and standards, as well as watching the growth of the project management industry as a professional discipline worldwide. So, if anyone has any further questions on PMI, feel free to reach out to us separately and can assist you on that. I suppose if we flick on, I can begin the introductions of our panel discussion here. So we kick off with Noelle Toomey. With an impressive career spanning over 2 decades at Dell Technologies, Noelle is recognized as the seasoned leader in change management. Starting her career in customer support, Noelle's career path saw her rise through multiple senior positions from tech support supervisor to principal program manager, and on her current position as director of global change management. In 2015, she spearheaded the formation of global change management team that has been pivotal in driving global program success by ensuring seamless user engagement and adoption of new technologies. Noelle's innovative change management framework has set a gold standard at Dell, enabling the company to anticipate and embrace future changes with confidence. Her commitment to fostering culture of adaptability and continuous improvement underscores her role as a key architect of Dell's transformation success. So we welcome you, Noelle, there to the panel discussion. And then it brings me to Johnny Mooney. He is a PMI director and Explio practice lead. So he's the director of sponsorship on the board of directors there at the Ireland Chapter of PMI. In 2021, he was nominated for and won the PMI Project Professional of the Year award, recognizing his PM skills and contributions to the wider PM community. And he's been working with Explio on a digital transformation consultancy role for the past 7 years as a practice lead for the PPM workstream.
Daniel, I won that award before I was working with the PMI.
Just for clarification. That's fair. And then we have Louise O'Rourke, change management lead at Pebble Business Transformation, soon to be Aragon and Co. Ireland. Louise has been committed member of the CMI Ireland chapter for 2 years with a focus on events. Outside of CMI, Louise leads the change management practice at Pebble. Louise has also worn the project manager hat, so has a good understanding of the two roles and how they work alongside each other in sweet harmony, as she puts it. So we'll see how that unfolds as we get into the questions.
Thanks, Daniel.
So I might just kick off with the questions here if we're all happy and ready to go. So Noelle, can you tell us about your team of PMs and CMs and how they work effectively together to deliver successful projects?
Yeah, I suppose so. My team, as you mentioned there, came into existence about 10 years ago, so 2015. And apologies for the voice, I've had laryngitis for the last 3 weeks, so I'm hoping it holds out for the rest of this today. So my team came into existence back in 2015 when change management was first introduced to what was legacy EMC at the time, before we were merged with Dell Technologies. And we were a very small team of about 3 badged resources, and then Accenture essentially were in as consultants for change management while we were going through what we were calling our services 360 transformation at the time, where we were essentially moving everything from Oracle over to Salesforce. We worked with Accenture for about 2.5 years to get that started, and then made the decision that we could actually in-house change management. We had built up best practices and a framework that worked for the business, and they'd become very familiar with the practice of change management. So in 2018, I became lead of the change management organisation as it's known today. And we hired 11 external resources to become part of the team. That has grown over the last 2018. So over the last 6 years, that's grown, and we're currently standing a team of 30 team members. And within that 30, then we've diversified over the last 12 months, and we have 6 team members now that are fully focused on project management. And while I will say that, originally our focus was on change management, and we had all of our team members certified with ProSci, so they're all certified change management practitioners. A lot of them had actually gone ahead and got their PMP certification as well. because as a change manager, what we found was you did need that project management skill set. Even though I suppose your day-to-day was kind of different from a project manager, you were still essentially project managing the change management, if that makes sense. So 6 of the team members pivoted over the last 12 to 18 months and are doing project management solely today. And they would never wear 2 hats. So those individuals are very much project managers, and they work and partner with change managers from within the team as well. So how they differ is, I suppose, a project manager is doing the traditional project management. They're owning the roadmap. They're setting the milestones. They are forming their core team. And they're set about the delivery, essentially, of the technical side of the project. Whereas our change management team members, and I suppose the slide that's just popped up here for reference is adapted from ProSci as well. Where I think they quite clearly kind of explain the difference between a project manager and a change manager. So you can see in the top half, the project manager is essentially focused on the technical side of the transformation. So they are coordinating the design, the development, and the delivery of that change. Whereas our change managers are solely focused on the people side of it. So they are focused on, gathering engagement, driving the adoption and the overall usability of the technology that has been developed and been spearheaded by the project managers. So while they work together, and they work together really well, they have very different roles on a day-to-day basis.
That's great. Thanks, Noelle. That brings us to the next question, and I might direct this one initially at yourself there, Louise, and then bring it around the houses across the panel. What are some common challenges that arise in the project manager and change manager partnership, and how can these be addressed? And I guess, as you're kind of going through this, if you could sort of elaborate on the early embedment of having a change manager, the benefits to a project that might bring.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's linking back to what Noelle said there. I think for a long time there was a misunderstanding about the role of the change manager. I think any of the change managers on the call here would have been asked to do some kind of an icebreaker, and that would be people's understanding of the sum total of the change manager's role. And that's, when I actually moved from program management into change management, I understood there was a hell of a lot more. So what I think can be done, Daniel, to make sure that everybody's clear on the roles, from the outset of the project, to make sure that the roles are clarified, the objectives of each of the roles, and then clearly define the deliverables at each phase of the project, right? So I think, you'll get the program plan and you overlay the change management deliverables on that, and you explain very well to everybody in the team and the client, what's the differences there. Once people see a tangible deliverable, I think that they understand, all right, okay, that person is delivering this and that person is delivering something else. But I mean, it's key that the program manager and change manager work well together. The change manager has to, like other work streams, prepare a status report and feed that back in at the program management level. So I think clearly outlining that at the beginning of the program is essential.
Yeah, that makes sense. Then I think from the PM side that resonates quite well. Noelle, what would be your take on that one?
Yeah, so similar to Louise, right? I think there was a perception that people understood what change management was, but until they actually encounter it, I don't think they fully understand the amount of work that actually goes into change management. It is seen sometimes as a soft skill or an optional extra. And I suppose my kind of mantra for the last couple of years to make sure that we have change management at the table during all transformation projects is around, if the success of your project is hinged on our team members or your customers or whoever it is, right, doing their job differently, whether that's a new technology, a process, or an experience, then change management is not an optional extra, it's an imperative, right? Because there's no point in creating the greatest technology known to man if no one knows how to use it. Or if there's a resistance to using that because, they've built up this a perception of what's coming. So Gen AI at the moment is a new buzzword, right? And it's driving the fear of God into people because there's a perception that the robots are going to take over. I think with change management, you know, in any company that is launching generative AI, if change management is part of that journey, you're going to demystify Gen AI and get people excited and get over that resistance curve way before they ever encounter the change. And that's really important. The other challenge, again, around, you know, not fully understanding change management is when you actually engage change management. I think a lot of program or project managers, if they haven't worked with change management before, would think that change management should come towards the end of a project, and they see change management as being communications and maybe training. When in fact there's an awful lot has to go into, you know, being able to communicate and being able to develop that training content. We need to be engaged right at the start so we fully understand the why behind the project or behind the change. And if we understand the why, then we can help articulate that at all the levels that are needed, right? Whether that's at the exec level, at the manager level, that's going to be essentially driving the change with our team members, or down at that team member change, who's going to be the hands on keys and encountering that change on a day-to-day basis. And I think explaining the why and understanding the why for people goes a long way to, you know, going over that change curve and going beyond the resistance. If you can tell, I always use the analogy of, you know, a project or a change being like moving house, right? There's no point in telling people they're moving house when you've the curtains and the carpet picked out. You need to tell them you're going to be moving to a new area so that they can do their bit of research about what else is in the area, what's in the locality, what can they look forward to. And I think the sooner you engage change management, and the better the partnership, or the stronger the partnership is between the change manager and the project manager, and there is a free flow of information and total transparency, and we've access to the, you know, the requirements. Once we understand the change, we can go and figure out who's going to be impacted, how they're going to be impacted, how often they're going to be impacted, and what that change truly means to people. That helps us then set the foundation for creating that training and communications, which do come later in the project, which should be worked a lot sooner. And then the other thing as well, not to harp on too much, but I'm really passionate about change management. The other thing is the adoption metrics, right? They should be set way in advance. That can't be an afterthought right at the end. So once you understand who's impacted and how they're going to be impacted, you should be developing the adoption metrics at that stage. It's not enough to say adoption is basically how many users logged on in the morning. That's not adoption. If you have, and a lot of transformations are, you know, agile at the moment and they're iterative. So there could be two systems stood up. You've got the old system that has some of the functionality and the new system, which has some of the functionality. So adoption should really be what's available in the new system, how often are they going to that, and how much are they relying on the old system still? And you need to break that habit. A lot of that is behavioural and could be lack of education. And that's where change management will come back in and help with that overall adoption again.
Absolutely. I mean, I guess from my take of listening to this so far is I'd like a change manager on every project I work on. It seems essential from the beginning there. And look, I guess that brings me to you, Johnny, if you wouldn't mind answering that question as well there.
Sure, yeah. And I fully agree. I suppose, first of all, with one of the key challenges could be defining those roles, and particularly the expectations around the different roles and responsibilities with the different stakeholders on any project or program. But as well, then having that change management aspect brought in at the early stage and not just leaving it until the end, thinking that it all gets done at the end of a project. And in particular, then the difference between project and change managers, it's not that they have competing sort of dependencies or requirements, but they have different ways of looking at various things. So a key challenge can be making sure that the requirements or needs for any SME or with business resources, they're too notoriously overstretched or limited resources on any project, given that they have typically BAU commitments as well. But making sure that you identify what you need from them and when you need them as well, because the PM will need them for different activities and different inputs than a change manager will. So really just getting involved at the early stage to help project managers in mapping out what those times are and when they're needed, so you can plan appropriately around that. And then looking at some easy ways that you can try and overcome some of these challenges that we're speaking about here is by fostering that one team approach. So really having the collaboration between the PM and the CM, and also shifting the lens a little bit from deliverables into embedding new ways of working. So just by making that slight change in the thought process can help then with regards ensuring that you're all working towards a successful delivery. At Explio as well, one thing we do is that we would provide foundational level training of change management to all of our project managers and vice versa. And what that does then is that helps the different disciplines just really understand what the other world looks like. And then if there are potential gaps in a project or program at any stage, they can hopefully be identified a lot sooner and then get resources focused in those different areas. So just really helping to understand what each other's world looks like, I think is very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it'd be interesting to see how the landscape changes as more PMs get a better understanding of the CM world. I think it seems to be essential as we go forward here. Noelle, I might bring this one to you, and touching on Gen AI there, I think it's fitting with this one. What technologies have you adopted or are you hoping to adopt to improve accuracy and efficiency? And second part to the questions is, are there any other drivers you consider when adopting new technologies and tools?
So I'll take it in a few parts, right? So for I know that I saw a few of my team members popping on here, right? And they will know that in my team, we drive a culture of continuous improvement, right? So we're always looking to see where we can gain efficiencies. So we constantly are looking to see, okay, is there something that we can do where we can work smarter rather than harder? And a few of those things that we've done over the last while is we've built up a stakeholder database. So what we found is our focus is on the services organisation within Dell Technologies. That service organisation is over 30,000 employees. So my team members will all be working on different projects or transformations at the one time. And what we found over the last couple of years is that now there's an overlap. So multiple stakeholders will be impacted by the same change. And not all of my team members would have fully understand, the breadth of services. So what we've done is we've built a stakeholder database. So we're pulling in from HR so that we know that we've got the right codes and we've got the right names. But we're also using our tribal knowledge between ourselves of building up that persona of each of those stakeholders. So that's helped, I suppose, gain some efficiency for us, right? When it comes to AI and generative AI, that has to be taken in stages. I think there's a perception that Gen AI is plug and play, right? It's not, it's a phased approach. So first of all, what you need to do is figure out what's repeatable in your business. So if there's a process that you're repeating on a day-to-day basis, then you can automate that process. And it's only when you can automate it and you introduce generative AI, right? Because you have to bring in the, how reliable it actually is and how accurate it actually is when it's done by AI versus a team member. So it's, as I said, a three-step approach when you get to AI. Now, that's not to say that there's not tools and functionality out there that we leverage on a day-to-day basis that help us be more efficient. So one of the ones that we came across recently was we do a lot of interactive videos and animations and storytelling, right? Because that's a key skill when it comes to change management. But when we're telling people they're about to move house and drive that excitement, we try to make it as interactive and as engaging as possible. But that's time consuming, right? And content development is time consuming. We use a tool called Beyond for animation, and we would have done the voiceovers basically ourselves. What we've done, what we found actually in Beyond is that they have an AI voiceover. So we now can put in the script and the voiceover is generated in seconds. And initially when we tried some of these tools, we were getting feedback from team members that that's clearly AI. It doesn't have the right tone, doesn't have the right excitement behind it. But this particular one that we found now, when it was played back to me, I thought I had a new team member. And I couldn't distinguish whether it was AI or was it a human. And those things are all helping us kind of do our job quickly and more efficiently, because as I said, change is happening at such a pace and rate at the moment that it is becoming unmanageable. For a team the size that I have, and I know, Louise, when we first met and I told you there was a team of 30 of us, and Del, your mind was blown, but that's tiny in comparison to the amount of transformation that's going on around us. So we are very thinly spread. Any of these efficiencies that we can find or gain, we'll kind of jump on and test them out. So that's been a huge one for us. And where we're kind of focused now is around that content development again, the training materials. Like if we have requirements and we have a change impact assessment complete, is there something that we can leverage, kind of generate the content for us? So that's kind of ongoing at the moment. I know I was at a Change Management Institute webinar last month, and you guys were showing Microsoft Copilot and all the wonderful things that can do. Really excited to see if and when we implement that in Dell. So that, again, we can try to leverage some of that. I hope that answered the question.
It did. That was very insightful. And I guess, Louise, from your perspective, how would you take that question?
Yeah, a bit of overlap there for sure. And we're very excited to leverage technology in Pebble, because for the same reasons as Noelle, it's efficiency, right? You have a number of clients and, there's some very manual tasks, right? But I also think the trigger is, delivering a better product to clients. So I'll explain that when I go down through some of the deliverables we would have, leveraged technology. So for communications, we would use Canva for posters and newsletters. Like Noelle, we've gone the video route, especially when we're sharing a change story throughout the organization. We've used mobile phones, nothing fancy, right up to hiring a videographer. Is that the correct word? But yeah, very snazzy, and it comes across so well with the music in the background. But it's a great way of, delivering a change story around the organization. For feedback, then we've used Microsoft Forms, SurveyMonkey, and pulse checks. We do a lot of pulse checks throughout the journey, the phases of the project, to check how people are getting on in UAT in general, how they're finding training. And we use Mentimeter for pulse checks, especially if we're on a call and we get people to, just do a little check-in to see how people are feeling about whatever is current at the time. Generative AI, I'm like all over this now. And I have a colleague, Melissa, I think she's on the call. I'm hoping she's on the call, because Melissa is all over this as well. And we're using it a lot to just finesse our comms, right? So, if you feed in into, say, ChatGPT messages you want to give, but ask the little bot to, make it more exciting, or to summarize it in certain points, or categorize it under, say, people, process, technology, and that's just sticking in my head because it's something I did just this morning, then it does it like that. And, it's really helpful. It quickens up the job, and it makes you sound as if you should be, an author. You should actually be writing scripts. So I definitely think it's something I love, right? Then when I look at the change impact assessment and the stakeholder analysis, right? Melissa, are you on the call?
Yeah, I'm here, Louise.
Brilliant. So Melissa has been doing a brilliant job, right, of automating our spreadsheets, setting them up in a way that they spit out these gorgeous tables and graphs. Do you want to give us a little brief overview of that?
Thanks, Louise, and hi, everyone. You certainly make me sound a lot better than I feel when I'm putting these together. But, it's particularly talking around AI and I suppose the whole world being interested and maybe scared of it. I think the reality that we all know is it's not that AI is going to take our jobs. It's the people that use AI that are going to take our jobs. And I've been exploring, and I must say with my minimalist knowledge of AI and exploration, what's really been useful to me, and touching what Louise has said, is I've been exposed to many wonderful templates, particularly Excel templates, through my change management career, which is touching on 15 years now. And as they go through the years and years of use, the formulas behind them break, and I'm not an Excel whiz by any stretch. And I've ended up stopped using them because they were of no use to me. I didn't understand the formulas, but AI does. And I've now started using AI to help me write formulas to build Excel spreadsheets that are automated and integrated, that spit out beautiful dashboards and graphs that we can then utilize as the pretty pictures to put into our PowerPoint decks and packs that we present back to our clients. And it allows us to spend far less time trying to build those pretty pictures because the information's all there. It's lift and shift. And hopefully I can explore more formulas and learn along the way too. So that's me.
Brilliant. Thanks, Melissa.
Louise.
And just to finish off there, the other thing that we're investigating, we've actually a demo on Monday, is the organization change management solution software. So that looks as if it, it claims it does it all from a change management perspective. So that would be a huge gain in time if all those tables could be built into software, and I'm sure the reporting outputs would be really valuable there. And just one more thing, the change portfolio management, that is that's taking it up a level and helping clients or your own organization to look at the level of change going on across the business with lovely heat maps. I would definitely recommend the Change Compass or Change Folio. There are two pieces of software there that would help you with that view. Sorry, Daniel. Thank you.
That's fantastic, and thank you, Melissa, for jumping in there as well. That was an insightful answer, and I think I'll bring it to yourself, Johnny. But I know from our perspective, it's all about the adaptability with the clients, and it's never easy picking one tool or technology to align yourself with. I might throw it over to you, Johnny.
Yeah, no, it's not. You're right. But I really liked what Noelle was saying about, first of all, understanding your processes and getting them right. So getting your foundations in a good place from that perspective. One of the key things as well, which I really like about that, is as great as AI is, and it's coming rapidly at us all, is that, we have seen that sometimes it can give you out false answers, or it can produce something that maybe isn't as accurate as you would expect or like it to be. So if you have your processes right, and you understand them well, and you know what's repeatable, then you can also check and verify and go back and see what it's spitting out for you, and make sure it is accurate from that perspective. But as rapidly as the whole landscape is changing, there is a place, I think, for these systems enhancements or for these new applications. But serious consideration needs to be given from a business perspective first about the justification for any AI or any tool that we've discussed there. So first of all, asking, why do you want it? Like, why do you need it? And what is it as well that it will do for you, for your business? And also then having an honest look at how that will actually fit or integrate into your specific business or your team or your overall organization, depending if it's enterprise there or not. But having that clear justification, not just that this is a new shiny thing that we do see from time to time people get taken by. And then before you know it, you have this complicated program trying to get something in sideways into your organization that ultimately doesn't match with the way you're set up regarding your own internal processes or ways of working. So that is a key part, I think, before you take any of this technology on. But as you touched on, Daniel, the key part is around adaptability, Daniel. So having those core skills around any aspects that AI will bring, first of all, oftentimes, especially in the environment that I'm working in with a client-based approach, we really have a partnership with the clients we work with. So embedding ourselves in with them for whatever project or program we're working on. And from that perspective, we can be limited by whatever technologies that they are actually using. So it's important to have those core skills and tools and techniques as project managers really understood, and change managers really understood, so that you're not kind of restricting yourself by being only familiar with one approach. But yeah, absolutely, AI should be taken seriously, and I think it is. And we are seeing a lot of great new applications, or, as I say, system enhancements coming through that will make all our lives easier, and to Noelle's comments as well earlier, not replace anybody, but make our jobs and lives easier for those repeatable different aspects or activities that we're engaged in.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it really leans into that power skills aspect of the project management side from our perspective, that you need to be able to be adaptable on that. I guess on that same train of thought, Johnny, I might bring you to the last question here. And it probably just ties into what you started to touch on there with regards to AI and so forth. I think there's going to be a lot of disruption in everyone's field as we go forward, but in a good way. And it's how do we leverage it? But what emerging trends do you see in the field of project and change management that will impact the way these roles collaborate in the future?
Yeah, there's two key areas I was thinking about this, and they're kind of interlinked a little bit as well. So the first one is around kind of strategic organizational design or planning. Ireland would be typically a less mature country compared to some others within that space, but we are very multicultural and have very multinational companies as well across a global scale. And I think a lot of the influence from other countries who are a bit more mature in that space are bringing that into Ireland. So we're seeing more and more engagement at that strategic layer and strategic level, and helping organizations with the different planning activities that happen there. And while it can be very quick to identify that you'd need a project manager in that space, a change manager I see as being as equally important. So if you're trying to look at different opportunities in new market areas, and position your organization to start moving into those spaces to really get the most of those different opportunities. There's huge aspects potentially with whatever that new way of working or new direction is actually going to take to get there and be successful in that space. So looking at the training needs analysis, is your workforce actually ready and skilled and trained in that potential new area? And if not, then doing the proper due diligence to understand, is that just a simple exercise of upskilling your current workforce, or is there going to be a much larger impact with a huge financial aspect as well of maybe bringing in a whole new department for a specific sort of area or skill set? Understanding then, what the actual people readiness stage is as well. So at what point in your new strategic plan will your actual, your different operational areas be ready to actually capitalize on that space as well? And really helping and working at that strategic level with the project managers to understand ultimately, what the return on investment might be or when you could expect that. The second area then, which is kind of similar, is around, I think most people are familiar on this call with, a PMO, project management office, and with a CMO, change management office. But maybe some people aren't as familiar with a TMO, so a transformational management office. And that is really looking to bridge the gap between the different transformational strategy and the actual implementation itself. And the skills I see is very much needed there between change and project managers to work with an effective TMO. So some of the things there with another way, I suppose, of thinking about it is more like a strategic realization office. That might be a way for people to grasp a bit more what a TMO is if you're not familiar with it. But looking at measuring those business benefits and the benefits realization as well, and how that works with the different prioritization of initiatives. So you don't just have technology initiatives, there's also cultural change and behaviors potentially that the organization want to look at through the PMO. Supporting the target operating model design as well. So anyone who's worked with TOMS can understand how complex that whole environment is, and a TMO can really help support and build that within an organization. And really then ultimately the people impact and what I touched on in the previous point around the readiness of people as well to start adopting and taking these new initiatives, transformational initiatives into the organization and into the BAU activities. So I think that is, for me, two clear spaces in which there's going to be much more collaboration between a PM and a CM. And I think that they'll start working much more closely, and very important to have the two in those spaces.
That's brilliant, Johnny. Thanks for that. And Noelle, I might bring you to that question as well.
Yeah, I suppose my answer would be very similar to Johnny's, right? I do think that what I've kind of seen over the last 12 to 18 months is that there seems to be this move towards that transformation office or a transformation kind of lead team within organizations now. What I would like to see going forward is the PMO, CMO being co-located right within that transformation office. There's never a question of whether you need a project manager. The question is always comes around, do you need a change manager? And as I mentioned earlier on, like if the expectation or the return on investment of any project is someone doing their job differently, then that shouldn't be questioned at all, right? You do need change management, or otherwise it's just taking the chance and you're hoping that people will adopt and be aware of the change that is coming. So for me, I think if we could kind of, and Johnny, I think you did you said it well ago when you were saying within your own team, you've changed trained the project managers on change management and the change managers on project management, right? We kind of organically, our change managers have taken on that PMP training themselves, but there's probably an opportunity within Dell Technologies to have that change management module for the project managers or the technical project managers within our organization, so that they do understand exactly what change management brings to the table. And I know I was reading some of the chat questions there, just to alleviate some of the confusion, right? It's not that the change manager and the project manager compete against each other. The project manager is the project manager. Change management would be a functional lead within that core team of the project manager. And so the same as you'd have a development lead, or you'd have a data enablement lead, you'd have a change management lead within your core team. So the project manager essentially is the person that's reporting out on overall status. With change management would have a status in there, and they should be part of the go, no go decision, before you go live with any project. I hope that alleviates some of that questioning there.
Yeah.
Well, can I jump in there? Because I was the one who was answering those questions, because I was trying to keep up with the chat. And it's interesting. I think I agree to some extent, but I think it needs to be a situation where the project manager or the program manager has a good understanding of both. Do you know what I mean? Because I've seen it work badly where the project manager can't and doesn't see the value for change management. And, in those situations, an equal voice can be often important. And also when you're going to meetings, steering committee meetings, or whatever, the project manager might miss something from a people perspective because they're focused on the project, and vice versa. Do you know what I mean? It works both ways. So I guess I personally see an argument for both, but I just wanted to jump in and explain why I was kind of going back.
Again, it's down to the ratio, right, and how it's set up. But like our change management would have a status on the overall status readout. So change management would be like red, yellow, or green as well. You know what I mean? If there's a risk associated with it, and then there will be backup information on that as well. Also, we'd work really closely with if there's a sponsor for a particular change, because they become the face of the change, right? They're the people we put in our videos. They become the voice of the change. So change management will work very closely with that leader or that sponsor, whoever that may be as well. So it's not that you're hidden under the project manager, but the project manager essentially is the one leading the change in our experience.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Thanks, Noelle. I've just, so thanks for keeping up with the chat as well. Fair play to you.
Look, I think that's fantastic there. Answer there, Noelle and Johnny. I really appreciate that. Look, that brings us, conscious of time here, that brings us to the end of the sort of formal questions that we had. And Therese, I might throw it over to yourself with regards to some of the questions in the chat that you want to bring up to the panel.
No problem at all. I can do that. So I guess Sarah asked, how do you expect change management and learning and development teams to interact when it comes to the rollout of the new systems? So what's their role?
I can take that if you want.
Thanks.
So we have a learning development team within Dell Technologies, right? And most of their focus will be on educating our customers, and then there's part of their focus will be internally educating our team members as well on new technologies, new trends, etc. Whether it be cloud or a new product that we're launching. What we have found within our organization is that our learning development team weren't able to keep up with the rapid change. So my team has essentially taken on that role as well. So while we create a lot of the content for go lives, and then what we would do is hand it off to the learning and development team. So they take that then, and it becomes, a forever home basically on, we use SAB. I don't know if that's a widely used tool or not. But like if a new hire came in the door tomorrow morning, they would have the most relevant information. Sometimes with technology changes or process changes or launches, there's a point in time need for training, and we would serve that. If there's longer need, it's handed over to our learning development team.
Great, thanks,
Yeah.
Noelle.
Just jump in on that
Sorry,
one.
Johnny.
I would agree with Noelle. I think that for the actual project stage, that the change managers or change analysts as well maybe would assist with developing whatever that training or learning needs to be, and then actually carry that out in conjunction with maybe some training departments as well that may be in place or may not be in place. But then ultimately that would kind of be handed off, similar to technology being handed off into the business. Then the actual training aspect will be handed off into the L&D, and that will become part of their normal BAU training package then. But initially, then I do very much think that's in the change management space to be responsible for any projects.
Great, thanks, guys. And I'm just conscious of time as well. So one direct question just for you, Noelle, if that's right. Do you have a change plan for the whole company so you know what's coming when? Because I think that's particularly relating to the stakeholder database, I would have thought.
Yeah, so the way ours work, I know Johnny mentioned the transformation office there, right? To date, ours in services is we call the planning and strategy team. So the planning and strategy team start planning a year in advance. So since January of 2024, they're planning for FY26. So our financial year is a year ahead, just to confuse everybody. So they're essentially planning for 2025, right? What budget we're going to get, what transformations we're going to carry out. Once they have settled on that, and it typically, there's a year of planning goes into it, and then in December we get final cost out from IT and resourcing and everything else. We look then and see, okay, if there's 30 transformations happening in the next year, so that's kind of the master plan of these 30 transformations. As a change management team, we would go in and look and see, okay, how much of this transformation again is reliant on our team members doing things differently, and that's where we'll go and align ourselves. For each one of those projects, we would have what we call an enablement plan. And that's essentially our change management plan for each one of those programs. And our stakeholder analysis is done then on each of the programs, essentially. But
right.
We, in some of our team members would create a heat map, right? Because there's so much transformation going on for a particular group. They will show within this group, these are the roles that are being hit the most, and they'll have a heat map done up with that.
Right. Louise's dog's not playing ball, I'm guessing.
Doesn't agree with me, I'd say.
I love it. It'll start mine off now in a minute. I'm really conscious. Thanks for that, Noelle. Thanks for answering that question. Navigating personal bias. Louise, one-stop answer. How would you navigate personal biases among stakeholders? Any thoughts? Or is anybody any thoughts on the call?
I'll jump in if you want, Louise.
Go for it,
so we're a shared service, right? So I'm not in any business. So we don't have that bias at all. And I think it's maybe we're unique in that. But I think it works really well. So I'm not going in, against, resistant to the change already. It's not going to impact me at the end of the day. So I have no feelings about it.
I think they meant the stakeholders, Noelle, though, the stakeholders you're dealing with. One might have one, one department might have a bias over another or something like that.
Towards the change. Well, the one thing you're going to be guaranteed with change, right, is resistance to it, because not everyone is going to agree. So what you need to do there is look at why, right, and understand the why behind the change, first of all, and why the resistance, and then try to meet that in the middle by converting that resistance to acceptance, and highlighting the benefits that they're going to achieve and kind of bring them along that journey. It's the same as like any one of us. We're all human at the end of the day, right? And none of us want to embrace change. So you have to kind of encourage that and bring it along.
Absolutely.
Go
on. Sorry, Louise. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I would definitely encourage those people to be in the loop. I'd bring them in at the beginning, understand their fears. And often those people become actually advocates once you get them in, and not manipulation or anything like that. You really have to listen to these people, because they're the people that will know where there could be risks, right? So I think bring all the naysayers in.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I think it's important to understand as well what the viewpoint of the stakeholder. So, the easy thing, if you're talking to someone from finance, you talk about numbers. If you're talking to somebody from human resources or people side, you talk about the people. But understanding what's changing for them and then helping them to understand where their place is in this new way of working, celebrating what they've done before as well, to make sure that that's acknowledged, and that is very important. But if they can see where their place is in the new, I'm going to call it the new way of working or the new world, and how that they will continue to add value to that, I think that's incredibly important. But first of all, understanding what their concerns and what their viewpoint on things is can help you then to cultivate the right message, so that they see where that journey and where they fit on it.
Okay, guys, listen, thanks a million for this. We are out of time, sorry, and I'd like to finish on point because I know people have busy days. Look, at what I would say, I'm going to offer up on behalf of the panel. You're all on LinkedIn, I would have thought. So if there's no questions answered here today, please do reach out to any of us on LinkedIn. And I know they'll be more than, look, you can tell from the passion and the engagement, they're going to be more than happy to answer your questions. Lots of people connecting on chat, which is lovely, going to help each other out, which I love. Thanks for that. Scotland, we love you. You're not on your own. You're not any less popular than Connecticut. I'm telling you that right here and right now. I'd like to finish up and just by thanking everybody on the panel for just, there's some really good feedback coming in, guys. So people listened, they learned, and they took on board. Thanks for sharing everything so honestly. Daniel, thank you so much for some great emceeing and asking those tough questions. And look, all that's left for me to do is to say that if you have time, you could take this QR code, which will link you to our website, but otherwise you can catch us on LinkedIn, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have on the topic or any of the institutes. Have I covered everything, Louise, Noelle, Johnny? Is there anything I've missed? No. We're good. Daniel, brilliant. Okay, so have a lovely rest of your Thursday, and thanks to everybody again for such a great session. Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Bye. Bye.